What's up, everybody? Ben Reza here for Stokastic, and it's time for the final major of the season, the British Open, the Open Championship, whatever you want to call it. Royal Troon on the docket. We're here going to talk about all the things you need to know to build your lineups to hopefully take down maybe a millie. We got to get a millie winner. We're going to try. I want to welcome you into Stokastic. All things DFS, from the tools to the process to the picks. If you like what you see, take a look around first and foremost. And if you like what you see, subscribe. Be part of this. Football's rapidly approaching. Got you covered for all sports, including golf. We're going to talk about the players, of course. I'm going to dive into our data hub, talk about our sims and everything. But let's step back and just set the stage for where we're at. So we're in Scotland. We were in Scotland last week for the Scottish Open. The majority of the field did play. Scheffler didn't play. Finau didn't play. A couple other guys didn't play. But the majority of guys were in the field. And we did get a glimpse of maybe how they can tackle some links golf. Now, important takeaways. It was pretty calm. The scores were really low. Bobby Mack almost, when you're flirting with 20 under, that's a type of links golf that's a little different than what they may, and I stress may, see here. The weather can and will change on the fly, but it looks like it could be a little windy, could be a little rainy. And with that in mind, I kind of want to quickly go over Royal Troon and what that might mean. It's not a difficult test in terms of length. Certainly, there's scoreable holes, particularly that first batch. Then it gets difficult. You got to be in the fairway. You don't want to be in the thick stuff. You need to scramble. Slower greens in Europe because it's very windy. We know all that. I think that guys can and will be aggressive at times, but you don't need to be. It's a course that seems all inclusive in terms of the abilities that you need. You could be driver heavy. We'll see what a guy like Bryson does, or you could be very technical. We saw Phil and Stenson duel it out last time here. That was a long time ago, though. Not going to rely on course history, more open championship history, links golf. And to me, if you want to up the irons, that means, in my mind, the wind and the rain isn't as big a deal. If you want to up the scrambling and around the green, that means it's more windy and more hazardous conditions, and you want a grinder. I think there's two schools of thought there. I will tee time stack. I also will skill set stack. I will have some teams that are short game specialists, and I will have some teams that are iron specialists, where the winning score in my mind is 20 under, and then the winning score is 5 under. I think those are two completely different schools of thought, and one that we need to be aware of. But let's dive in. We got a lot of players to get to. Here we go. So bringing this up again, going to update as we get more information. Be sure, if you, and again, the links below, to get all this information, to use it in your sim runs. Come on now. The scores have been unbelievable. We'll talk about that in a bit. But let's start to get into it. Scotty Scheffler, Bryson, Rory, Xander, Rahm, Abear. That's 6 north of 10. Not surprised. Nothing like that. I think everyone's kind of where they should be. Certainly Bryson just outdueled Rory in a wild U.S. Open, and he kind of deserves to be there. I have no problems with that. We know that Scheffler is where he deserves to be. He didn't play in Scotland, as I mentioned, and we'll see. We'll see what kind of conditions these guys get. To me, all of them are going to garner ownership. There's no doubt about it. I do like Rory, as I always do. I think he's going to be just fine. He was great in Scotland, did his thing, just really dominated off the tee, didn't putt at all, and he still came in 4th. He's just been a walking top 5 this whole year, but you really can't go wrong up here. I don't know. I'd say Rahm would be the leverage, just because A, out of sight, out of mind. B, of these guys, I mean, let's look at it. We've got major winners this year. Scheffler or Bryson, Xander, and Rory's been damn close. Aberg's been damn close. And then Rahm missed the cut at the PGA, 45th at the Masters, didn't play in the U. I mean, he's done nothing relative to this range. If you want to be against the grain, that's where you can go. Again, all of these guys are going to be very, very solid options. I'm not going to fiddle with them. I will not manually boost any of them. I hope to get a healthy mix. Personally, Rory would be one. Probably Xander too, but very, very close. And again, you can't go wrong. And I'm going to loop in the second part of the top tier because, listen, this is a deep field. That was one of the takeaways for me. I mean, it's a major. I'm not breaking any news here. They're all like this, but man, was there a lot of depth. You've got Morikawa, Hovland, Hatton, Fleetwood, Cantlay, Brooks, Cam Smith, and Tony. Again, you're going to see a lot of teams. It's a lot of firepower to omit the top 6, but you definitely can. And if you spike a winner here and you get maybe 2 in the top 5, that could be a build. The problem with that, and I'm gonna be talking, of course, about lineup construction throughout this, there's so much value that even if you're aggressive in the nines, you might be able to go and get one of your preferred 10K options. So it is a little tricky in that sense. Morikawa, one of the candidates if it's calmer conditions. I mean, we saw him take one down. Again, calm conditions. I don't think you want to particularly target him in crazy, crazy weather. I would rather have him where he can just lean on his irons and go crazy. Now, to his credit, he's gained 6 straight around the green. He has really improved that, and that's a big plus for him. So he's just playing really, really good golf. Hovland is the obvious candidate for the guy you don't want around the green. He has struggled immensely there. That's not going to change in my mind, but he's still talented enough. He can get it done. You just don't want it in a scramble competition. That is not his forte. Ty Hatton playing great over on Live. Of course, he's familiar with Links Golf. Price is a little premium, but I get it. He's made the cut in all three majors this year. He top 10 at the Masters. Uh, he's got plenty of experience in Open Championships. A couple top 10s in there, including at Troon. Again, I don't think that really matters, but he's playing really good golf. I actually bet him at 28-1. I like Hatton this week. Tommy Fleetwood, Mr. Consistency, but he never wins. 9,300. Could this be the spot? I mean, last week at the Scottish, he was there until 12 holes. He made 11 feet of putts on Saturday. Just ridiculous. Ended up in 34th. He lost 3 strokes putting. He gained nearly 7 strokes tee to green. He is playing great. He has not missed a cut since Arnold Palmer in March. Just a lot of T20s in there, and you want a little better than that. But Tommy Fleetwood, again, these are rock solid options. Cantlay, I think, will be a little lost. Brooks, he's drifted to like 45-1. And again, I think it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. We've seen him 3 times: 45th at the Masters, 26th at the PGA, 26th at the US Open. He couldn't putt at the US Open, but those are really, results that aren't going to move the needle a ton for a lot of people that are just tuning in for the majors. Cam Smith, same thing. He's the opposite to me of Hovland. You don't want him, I'm not going to say in calm conditions, but you don't want this to be an off the tee competition. He's very weak there, but he has one of the best short games in the world. He can roll it. Another former Open winner, and he actually did it in kind of bizarre conditions. He just putted so insane that it didn't matter. That was a weird one. Tony Finau, Decky, Tom Kim, Shane Lowry, Fitzy, Wyndham Clark. This is rounding out kind of that top tier, and now we start the mid-range targets at this point. Tony Finau is another notorious non-winner, but I bet him, so I hope that he wins. He didn't play last week. I mentioned that, but what else can you really knock Finau for? 5 straight top 20s, 3 straight top 10s, a third at the US Open. The guy has been automatic with the irons, plus 2 or more strokes in 5 straight. He's gained 5 straight around the green. He's gained 3 straight with the putter. Everything is clicking. I don't think that the Open is a bad fit for him in general. Just thinking of Open championships, he did miss the cut at the Open last year, but that broke a stretch of 6 straight years making the cut. I don't see much concern there. You got to look at the weather splits. You got to look at the weather draws. Again, it changes on the fly. But to me, Tony Finau is one of the stronger plays. He's probably going to be my pick to win when you consider the odds at 45-1 range. I like him a lot. I do think that he's going to be there once again. You've got Decky, who maybe people don't think of it, but you could argue that he's the best around the green player in the world. The guy is just unreal with the short game. He missed the cut at the Scottish, and it was all putting. It was all putting. No concern there. If he doesn't fix it, he will not be a factor. If he does, 8,500, very reasonable tag there. So Decky makes a lot of sense. Tom Kim, again, that's a guy that I'm going to circle. If he's really popular, I'd probably come in underweight. It's nothing knocking on his game. It's kind of like Minwoo Lee last week. Same kind of concept for me. Not the best with the putter. It comes and goes. He was 15th last week in Scotland. Great tee to green. He was second at Travelers. Missed the cut at Rocket Mortgage. Just a mixed bag, but he's played well all year. He's made the cut at the US Open, made the cut at the PGA, made the cut at the Masters. 30th or better in all 3. So Tom Kim is a solid target at 83. I do prefer Decky and Finau. I prefer Tom Kim, I think, over Lowry at 82 if there was no ownership discount. We'll see what that looks like. Lowry's another guy we know, another open. I feel like I've rattled off a lot of open champions. He won in 2019. He can do it. Certainly, if it gets crazy, crazy, really windy, really difficult, I think we all know by now that Shane Lowry is built for those conditions. It's kind of like I don't wanna say a stereotype, but it's absolutely something that Shane Lowry has proven that when it gets nasty, the Irishman's ready to go. And he can play in other conditions, but he is that guy when people think of those conditions, and he's really shown it. He has shown that he can handle those type of situations. Crashing down a little lower here, Fitzy and Clark. I targeted Wyndham Clark pretty heavily last week. I actually thought he played pretty well. He rallied late. It was all putting though. Now he does that, so I'm not gonna say that he can't replicate it, but I would like the irons to be a little crisper. He's lost strokes with the irons in 4 of 5. That's a little dicey for me. Again, he's someone I'm not gonna manually boost if he pops up in my runs. That's great. If not, I could do without him. Not really concerned. Kind of a neutral play. And before we crash into the sevens, I do want to mention, when I'm talking about the sims and whatnot, it's all right here. I'm in the data hub right now. We've got our contest generator, pre-contest simulator, and then you can always review in the post-contest sim. That's one of my favorite things to do. How did your lineups grade out? Are you just running cold? Because yes, it's great to take down, and we've seen some massive scores here at Stokastic from members in the last couple weeks. But that doesn't always mean everything. Sometimes you just run crazy hot. The more important thing, in all honesty, is to continuously improve that process and give yourself chances, because you want to give yourself chances to get lucky. And if you want to see this in action, it's a major. Come in for the week. Link is below. Sign up for the Sims. See what we're about. You get our Discord as well. You can learn from people who have been using these for a long time, and you familiarize yourself before football. Again, this is that same process. We've had a ton of success, and we brought it to golf. We'd love to have you guys as part of the community. Spieth, Neiman, Bobby Mack. Bobby Mack, man, he just keeps doing it. Brian Harmon, Cam Young, Minwoo Lee. This is kind of a dead range for me. I really don't like any of these guys. Neiman, again, he's on live. We're still waiting for it, and I'm not going to say the clock is ticking. The guy is still very, very young, but he should be better in majors. He's had relatively no success in the biggest tournaments, and the putting is insane. And I don't mean that in a good way. At the PGA, he lost 6 strokes putting. That just you can't do that and expect to be able to get in these. Now, he did make the cut. To his credit, he's 22nd at the Masters as well, but he needs to putt better. I do think he will eventually get it together, but it has been a concern, not of late, just in his career so far. He's too talented to have mediocre major finishes. Again, Bobby Mack did it last week. I'll see what the ownership looks like there. Cam Young, right condition type guy for me, bomber heavy. Don't like him with the short game. Minwoo, the ownership should come down. He did not play great last week. Again, neutral. I didn't like him last week, but it was more of an ownership thing. At 7,400, I will go back to Justin Thomas, as I seemingly do every week. I can hear the groans from everyone watching. Apologies. I loved him last week, and he ended up in 62nd, which is insane considering he was 8 under after the first round. He just went completely backwards. I don't think you need to get crazy with him, and that's why, to me, it can be a reasonable buy if he's normal ownership, standard ownership. And we'll see as this updates. We're going to get that clarity. To me, JT at 74 is fine. More people will go to Corey Connors, in my opinion. It's probably going to be cash viable. Him and Aaron Rye are just very solid players. Connors hasn't missed a cut. I don't even know when the last time he's missed a cut. I believe it's 2023. I don't see any missed cuts looking at his results so far this year. The guy's just a walking find the weekend. He's seven straight top 30s. 3 out of 5 top 10s, 10th in Scotland. Gains off the tee without being long, automatic there. Irons are good. Short game's improved. Corey Connors is just a good player. There's no doubt about it. Aaron Rye is maybe playing, when you're coming 5 straight top 20s, 2nd, 7th, and 4th leading up, he's playing as good a golf as anyone in the world. Now, he's gained nearly 5 strokes putting in 3 straight events. That's just stupid. If you do that, you'll never lose. Is he going to keep doing that? I have no idea. But if you would have asked me after the second one, would he make it 3 straight? I would say no, and he did. So he could easily make it 4 straight. If he's very popular, I'll be under. He's a fine player. I prefer Connors. I prefer Thigala. I prefer Noren. Alex Noren got into this field by coming in the top 10 last week in Scotland. Gutsy performance. And Noren is the type of guy, he knows what he's doing. Say what you want. He's come over to the PGA Tour and he hasn't been able to break through. Prolific winner in Europe, though. Decade of experience in the Open Championship. Half of those have resulted in top 20s or better. 7,200, that's going to get it done at that type of price point. I like Noren here. As we get to the lower ranges, Noren's the type of guy, to me, that's a very reasonable balanced build. He could be your last man in if you go very, very balanced. And at 7,200, that's a fine price point for me. So let's dive into kind of the lower sevens and these lower price guys, because if you do go aggressive up top, you're going to need some salary savers. You've got Dustin Johnson there, who is broken, but name recognition. Here we go. Ding, ding, ding. Sungjae Im. Now, anybody who's anybody is going to notice this. This is the sneaky would be the furthest thing from the description of Sungjae at 6.9K. I've been playing him a lot. I loved him last week. He came in 4th. Everything is working right now. He's 3rd, 12th, and 4th in his last 3. 5 out of 6 top 20. 4 of those in the top 10. Everything is clicking for Sungjae. Things we don't like. He's going to be extremely popular. There is no doubt about it. The price point is straight wrong. I had to hydrate for this one because it's getting a little too dangerous with Sungjae. 2, and I don't think this is that important, but it is worth noting, he's played like garbage in the biggest events this year. He missed the cut at the Masters. He missed the cut at the PGA. He missed the cut at the US Open. All 3 majors, he missed the cut. Now, he putted himself out of those, and I don't think he's going to do that here. But again, that is worth noting. He has beaten up on some of the weaker fields, and he has not shown up in the biggest events. He's still sub 7K for Sungjae. That is just a buy. There's no doubt. If you want to get leverage, though, you're going to need to allocate a lot. And there's a lot of names down here. Usti is here at 6.8. Siwoo at 6.8. Adam Scott is also going to be very popular at 6.7. Played great in Scotland. Obviously, if you watched, easily could have won. I mean, you could argue he should have won. He came in 2nd, and it was everything. Tee to green, fantastic. Putting, fantastic. If he sinks it up, I mean, he's going to be there. There's no one maybe with as much Open experience as this guy. He's seen it all. He's done it all. Upside is usually the thing, but in the Open Championship, how often do we talk about that's the major that correlates most with players that have experience, guys that maybe are a little older? And Adam Scott fits the bill at 6.7. Bez withdrew last week. Just want to shout that out. He absolutely crushed some good teams for me. One of the Hogards, both of them are actually in this range. Nikolai and Rasmus, I think they're both playable. Keegan would be an off the tee guy. I'd group him with like Cam Young and those type of players. And then we start to get into either, I'm going to say lesser known tour players, but a lot of Euros and some of the guys that maybe just scratched and clawed their way in. Denny McPutts, Tom Hoagie, JT Poston, those types. And you're kind of competing against them versus Moronk, Jordan L. Smith, McKibben, some of these either live or Euro only guys. I tend to side with the Euro guys at an Open Championship, just like I did last week. But it's not a one size fits all. I think it is dependent on the skill set. Typically, if the wane and the wind are going to be prevalent, I think that furthers the advantage for the Euros and lessens the advantage for some of the better iron players on the PGA Tour, the Henleys, JT Poston at times. His short game is really, really strong, but with the putting, it's a lot of stress he's going to have to put on it. He's more of a Bermuda guy, but at the same time, he gained 6 strokes at the Deer. I don't know why I'm really talking about JT Poston. He's not going to be someone that I target heavily. Looking at the guys on the screen for me, I think Tom Hoagie, if the conditions are reasonable, would be my play. If not, I would go to Harris English at 6.3. Crafty short game, just don't get destroyed off the tee. And let's see where we land. we're starting to get to the range where I'm going to preface everything by saying you don't need to get down here. You can make great lineups, reasonable lineups, leverage lineups without digging into the low sixes. Victor Perez at 6.2. Tiger, the big cat. I'm rooting for him, but I won't be playing him. Stenson, that's a no. You've got Matt Wallace and Laurie Cantor. They're a couple guys with clear experience in English layouts. Romain Languasque, or whatever his name is, the Frenchman. He was really good last week in Scotland. Griot, 6K. These ranges, again, I don't want to say that I'm just glossing over them, but as you can see here, the projections are very neutral on a lot of these guys, very even. Ownership should also be somewhat bunched. Optimal percentages, they shouldn't jump off the page. I'm not going to get to this range a lot. Anyone that you do get to in any sizable portion, you'll have leverage. 5, 6, 8% of these guys could be 2x the field, depending on the ones you go to. I don't think there's going to be a lot of ownership here. For me, Griot, he'll fit in terms of the iron types. Obviously, around the green is not his specialty. I would target someone like Jaeger or Laurie Cantor, maybe if I wanted to be very against the grain. And now we're in the 5K range. Again, I'll gloss over these guys and talk about them very briefly. If you have any questions on people that I didn't get to, follow me on Twitter at JazzRazDFS. I'm happy to help, happy to talk, happy to answer any questions there. Of course, I'm in our Discord as well. If you do like betting golf, I do want to quickly say Odd Shopper. It's our betting side of everything. Go over there, oddshopper.com. I've got my articles posted. We've got our tools. We've got our Discord. It is all there for you. Doesn't get better than this. Football will be approaching, and golf is here right now. Get involved. Link is below. Again, join us. Be part of this family. Ben Griffin at 5,900 is someone I do want to talk about, though. He is a player. I liked him last week, and he was very cheap there, and he represented himself really well in Scotland. Nothing crazy, but he was 39th. Gained across the board, lost with the putter. That's fine. We want to see that. We want the putter to flip. He's fifth at John Deere. He was second in Canada. He has no real experience in these type of tournaments. He has limited success and limited experience in fields of this nature, in tournaments of this nature, in events of this nature. That's the negative. The positive is he's playing golf at a level that is not a sub 6K golfer in any field. The guy's making cuts on the PGA Tour consistently. He's made 5 of 6. 2 of those were top 5s, as I mentioned. And he seems to be able to handle some of these conditions. Now, again, maybe the calm conditions really suit him. And if it gets nasty, he will absolutely get crushed in the wind. I think that's very possible. But what is the opportunity cost down here? Mackenzie Hughes, Just, Bjork. These are not players that I'm looking to at all. Hesatune, Gary Woodland. There's nobody down here. So for me, it's either there's 2 choices. There is don't go to this range at all, which is probably the prudent move, and that's what I'll do on the majority of my teams. Or to me, Ben Griffin's at the top of the 5s. I like him more than anyone else in the 5K range. I don't think any of these guys are going to be, popular by any stretch. Manacero was good last week. I'll give him credit there. Now we're in the bottom. I don't play these guys. Simple as that. So for me, if you're there's going to be another duel. It's going to be Scheffler and Rory. Well, you might have to go into the 5s. And if you do that, I think a guy like Ben Griffin can round out the lineups pretty nicely. Just a name to keep in mind if you're in a jam. If he pops up in your sim runs, I would not manually exclude him or anything like that. I like him. I think I will be overweight, I should say, this week. There you have it, friends. It's been a hell of a major season. Golf never stops, so it's not like this is the end. There's plenty more, but it's the last major of the season. Let's see some top end finishes. I love the Open Championship. Personally, it's my favorite. I love early morning golf, those big yellow scoreboards. And I love to see the golfers in weird conditions that they're not used to. And I think we're going to get that this week. Again, any questions for me? Jazzraz DFS, anything that we can do at Stokastic to make you guys closer to the community we want to do. And those links below are for you. Read about it, see what we're offering, get inside the ropes. But I want to see some screenshots. Again, let's keep this streak going. 2 straight weeks. We've had a major takedown with the Stokastic Avatar. Let's make it 3 in a row. For me, For everyone here at Stokastic, and most importantly for you guys, have a great Open Championship. Enjoy all the golf. Good luck. I'll talk to you next week.